1 million pounds of weight loss. Oh yeah, you heard that number right. 1 million pounds of weight is how much the clients of Fit Body Bootcamp have lost. Fit Body Bootcamp is the world's fastest growing bootcamp franchise. And today we're talking to their CEO, who shares his own transformation story and also just some useful tips on how you can incorporate more fitness, wellness, and positive lifestyle changes to help you live your healthiest and happiest life. Our physical, mental, and emotional health is not just a want. It is a need for happy lives and prosperous businesses. Lift You Up is the podcast where we share inspiring health stories from business owners who are fulfilling their purpose to live their healthiest lives and helping you do the same. From former TV reporter to marketing entrepreneur and content creator, I care about sharing stories that matter and stories that connect us. I'm your host, Tamika Bickham, your health and wellness matchmaker. Today, I am so excited to meet virtually for the first time and introduce all of you to Bryce Henson. Hi, Bryce.
Hey, Tamika. Thanks so much for having me on.
Nice to meet you, and thanks for being here. I know you are the CEO of Fit Body Bootcamp. You are currently out in Los Angeles, joining us here virtually in our remote studio in Miami, Florida. We were just chit-chatting about our origins. I'm excited because, honestly, talking about health and fitness, fat loss, weight loss is honestly one of my favorite topics. Because I've talked a lot about my own journey here on this podcast, which I feel like is an ever-evolving one. But let's start with yours, because I know obviously you're in this health and fitness world. From what I can tell from where you're seated, you look fabulous. You look like a healthy person, but it sounds like you might have a transformation story. So let's start with your story and how this became part of your life.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So as we were chit-chatting, LA, Miami, but we're both not either from either location. And I guess my story originally started in the Southeast in Georgia, but I moved to the state of Michigan for high school and college. My mom escaped a really bad situation with my father and got us to bluer skies where her family was there and from. And I spent the latter part of 10 years there. And the Midwest in general is a great place, amazing salt of the earth people, but not the fitness capital of the world. So fast food and Taco Bell specifically was a staple of my diet. I didn't lift a weight throughout my high school and college years. So fitness was definitely not a part of my regiment. And there I was, 21 years old, graduated from college, and I got an internship in Los Angeles, California, which ended up turning into a full-time gig. And so I was 21. I moved 3,000 miles from home, and I was excited to be in LA, the beaches, the sunshine, all that California has to offer. But also LA is the plastic capital of the world, as we know. So being far from home, super young, very little professional skills to offer the world, homesick many times. But really, if you break it down, I didn't have health and fitness in my life, and I didn't have the energy, the vibrance that I certainly do today. That's why I'm so passionate about spreading health and fitness, because it does way more than change your physique. It changes your life. So when I got to LA, I lived that way, a bit more dark days than light for the better part of 2 years, and then a fortuitous situation happened. One of good buddies of mine from the state of Michigan, we went to college together, moved out to Southern California. We lived together, and his name was Adam, and he's my first fitness mentor, still a dear friend today. And something a little bit about Adam: he was not on the cover of Men's Health, but he could have been. He had the six-pack abs, the glistening muscles, the energy, the confidence. All the girls loved him. I certainly looked up to that. And so we lived together, and it was an opportunity for me to learn about fitness. But Tamika, if you can believe, it took me a couple months to finally muster up enough courage to say, Adam, would you teach me a little bit this fitness thing? And he turned to me and said, Bryce, I thought you'd never ask. So he said, if we're going to do this, though, I want to do it right. So he made me commit to a 12-week program just so I could see some results. He didn't want to waste my time and his time, but he introduced me to fitness. He introduced me to circuit training, to clean eating, but most importantly, introduced me to coaching and accountability, because I would love to look you and your audience in the eye and say, I would have done it by myself, but I certainly can't do that. But thankfully, through his guidance and his mentorship, I went through an incredible fitness transformation. I dropped 20 pounds of body fat, put on 20 pounds lean muscle. but I just changed my life. After going through that journey, I trained with Adam for about 2 months, or excuse me, 2 years, and drastically changed my life, right? I became one of the least performing sales rep in the company, all the way to the highest performing sales of the
Mm.
company. But it wasn't until one day someone walked up to me, introduced himself to me, and he said he'd been seeing me and following me and was just curious how I lifted weights and how I ate from a nutrition perspective. And Tamika, I looked at myself and I'm thinking to myself, you're asking me? Because my
Right.
identity hadn't changed yet. But that was the spark that I thought, you know what? Holy smokes, I've been given this gift of fitness. I want to give that back to the world. And that's really what it all changed for me.
I love that. Wait, okay. You said you lost 20 pounds of fat, gained 20 pounds of lean muscle. Um, was that in that 12-week program?
It was about 6 months actually is
Okay.
when it took me to manifest that transformation. But
Yeah.
within 12 weeks, while I didn't execute that transformation in that period of time, I
Yeah.
started seeing progress. And I
Right.
love quoting Tony Robbins: progress equals motivation. That's so important. So if you're listening to this right now, know that it might seem unsurmountable, but when you start taking baby steps towards your goal and you start seeing a bit more progress, then you'll actually be more inspired to continue to take action and receive your result. That's my experience, and certainly I want the same for you.
So something's not going to happen in a week. Depending on what we're talking about, it might not happen in a month. It might not happen in 6 weeks, depending on what you're trying to achieve. But you committed to that 12-week program. And then once you start seeing that progress, you're like, okay, I can keep going with this. And it's not only about vanity, right? Or like how you look, it's how you feel. And I love that example that you gave as well about how you started performing even better in the workplace because there's this total body transformation that's happening from the inside
Abs-
out.
Absolutely. And one thing that you mentioned in terms of like just the mental health, I certainly got in the fitness game to transform my physique, but that's not the reason I stay here. It's the mental clarity, the energy, the enthusiasm, the confidence that you can really derive from it. And when I first started this journey, and I didn't provide a date, but this was January of 2007, and we're here in 2022 shooting this
Mm.
podcast. Never in a million years would I think that journey would have embarked on me really changing my whole life. But I'm glad I didn't actually look at it from 15, 20 years in advance. I'm glad I knew that it was going to take a little time, and I'm glad to receive that coaching from Adam. But it was literally just one day at a time. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's true. I put one step in front of the other. And to your point, the first few weeks, holy smokes, my muscles were screaming. I could barely sit down in the toilet. It was literally like pain city all over. But that this too shall pass, and it passed. And then what came out the other side was just a transformed life and a passionate guy wanting to serve and spread that to other people.
Absolutely. And, I think the seeing those physical changes initially can be that thing that keeps you going. But like you said, those other benefits that you get. And I'm saying this because I feel like there has to be, to stay committed to a fitness plan, there has to be a deeper why than just looking better. And I say that from experience because I was someone who got into the bodybuilding world, did those competitions, restrictive eating, overtraining. I didn't keep up with it, and it was because I didn't have that deeper reason, right? Like it wasn't about the overall health. And a lot of times you're doing something for a quick fix that really you're not putting into practice the healthiest things, right, to get there and make it happen. And I think the journey that I'm on today is much more about a deeper why that's about more than looking good, right? And like how I want to feel and how I want to live my life and how I want to show up each day and all of those things. So I think that's something that is important to remember and be connected to on your health journey as well.
100%. And that's also a value of a good fitness coach. And certainly I'm in the fitness coaching business. So it's a shameless plug, but it's true because human nature, we can be really self-absorbed. That's just a quality of human nature, and really think very short term versus long term. So to your point, by losing 15, 20 pounds, that sounds great, but that's not that reason enough for the average person is not enough to actually propel them forward. It's
Right.
about, I asked this question about your family, your kids. Typically speaking, when you actually really unpack the onion and realize how you can really benefit your life through health and fitness, and who it can impact in a positive way. When you start thinking about your family, when you start thinking about your children, they're watching, my friends, they are watching. And if you can't do it for you, do it for them. And that's actually the deeper reason, to your point, Tamika.
Did you have a hard time with making the food adjustment, or if not, like what would you say was the hardest thing for you to adjust to when making that lifestyle switch?
Ooh, interesting. I actually would say they were equally very difficult. So, the fitness aspect of it, because I was coming in cold turkey, I hadn't lifted weights before. I had played, some sports and some soccer, so I was, generally used to cardiovascular work, but I hadn't, trained that way in a very long time, years and years. So, when you come in cold turkey and you start doing resistance training, you're going to build up lactic acid in your muscles, and your muscles are going to be sore. So that certainly was a bit of a pain factor, but also to the nutrition. I was eating, Taco Bell and fast food and sugar, like it was going out of style. So to be able to clean that up, it definitely was challenging. But here's the thing, and I think this is super important for long-term habit change. Most people think of like this is all or nothing. Either you're completely in or completely out. And
Yes.
that's couldn't be farther from the truth. Meaning that the average person, just as this the way we're wired, maybe hasn't worked out since their high school. They get all charged up, excited. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get back on a fitness regimen. They go literally from 0 workouts a week to 7
Two a
workouts a
days.
week to 2 a days. And that lasts for 2 weeks. And they're like, holy smokes, this is not sustainable. So it's not sustainable. So for me and my journey, I didn't all of a sudden went from, eating complete garbage to all of a sudden the cleanest diet ever. I took a step-ladder approach. For 4 days of the week, I really, made some changes and started to pick up some lean proteins, fruits and vegetables, increase my water. My weekends during that time still wasn't good. But then after a couple years, then I started peeling off Saturday to make sure that, I was clean and healthy. And then eventually I got to a point where, on Sundays even, I eat healthy as well. So it can be a step-ladder approach. And I think that's super important, especially when you're just getting started. You don't have to feel that you need to accomplish everything in one day. And I guess to put a bow on it, what's the famous adage on how you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. It's important to see the big picture in order to keep you motivated to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, was there a point at which in your fitness journey you said, I've made it. I achieved all the goals?
I wish I had a better answer for you, Tamika, but that's just not the case. And I think that I know this about human nature. Human nature, we tend to always move the goalpost, like always move the goal. So back then, and it's interesting, and Tamika, I know you know this about certain aspects of your life. If you can look back at your life 15, 20 years ago and see how far you come, you're probably like, oh my goodness, I would take that any day and twice on Sundays. But I'm also sure right now you're thinking, okay, this is where I'm at, but this is actually where I want to go. This is the goal that I have in order to achieve. And I think that's a good thing in general, because that's pushed the human race forward from an evolutionary perspective. But it also can cause a lot of anxiety as well, because, using my example, if I look back at myself 15 years ago and actually just described who I am, a fit guy, a lean guy, a healthy person, a leader, a CEO of a business, I would be like, or international franchise, I should say, I would say, holy smokes, sign me up for that. But then once you get that, I'm thinking, okay, how can I even be better than I am today? And I think that's really important. So really to kind of put a bow and bring it back to your original question, no, even though I'm in incredible shape, I have 10% body fat, I could get even a little bit better shape. I can be even a better leader. I can, have a little bit more money. I can have a little bit more personal growth. And as long as that's done from a very positive mindset, I think that's healthy. The opposite though is true when people get too extreme and too down themselves. That's just something to be cautious of and guard against, knowing that the goalpost, your goal is always going to change. So this is a lifelong pursuit of personal development. And that's why I just, I'm really a big fan of your movement, because we're empowering ourselves and you're empowering people just to get a little bit better every day and continue on that for the whole journey.
Tell me about Fit Body Bootcamp. At what point in your journey did you start this business, which is now, like you said, an international franchise?
We're an the fastest growing indoor fitness franchise or fitness bootcamp franchise on the planet. We're based in North America, have hundreds of locations, about 90% in the US, 10% in Canada. And we focus on group personal training. So it's not a big box open gym concept where you can just come and go as you please. It's really as if you were to hire a personal trainer, but in a group setting. All of our sessions are led by certified personal trainers we call coaches. There's a mic coach who's bringing the energy through the group training program. We have the floor coach who's focusing on form. And our secret sauce is we do 30-minute sessions of high intensity interval training. And we like to say we get you twice the workout, twice the results in half the time. And really,
I
our
love it.
program's designed for the everyday person. And I love that too, because let's face it, vast majority of people don't have a couple hours a day to spend on the gym. They have work and family and kids and all the other responsibilities. So in a very short, condensed period of time, we can get you an incredible result. And really, that's who we are and the value that we provide from an organization perspective. I actually did not found the company, but I am the chief executive officer. And really to pick back up in 2009, because I think I started the story tell in 2007 when I started my fitness journey. And a couple of years later, when I went through that, and then someone, asked me at the gym, hey, how do you lift weights and how do you eat? And that light bulb went on. And I thought, okay, I can give this gift of fitness back to others. So I did the most logical thing I possibly could do. And I enrolled myself in the National Academy of Sports Medicine to get my certified personal training certificate. And I went through that process. It took me the greater part of a year. Afterwards, I updated my Facebook profile to certified personal trainer. Mm-hmm. And then I started receiving ads from this gentleman named Bedros Keuilian, who's actually the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp, who started it in 2009 as a licensing program. So I applied to be an owner. And in the summer of 2012, I made the biggest decision of my life, and I pushed my life savings into opening my first location, which I opened in a little city called Yorba Linda, California, which is near Disneyland in Orange County. And that was in 2012. And really to kind of finish off the story, over the next 5 years, I went on an incredible growth journey. I brought my family involved. I opened up 5 locations, so 5 gyms, and certainly had some trials and tribulations, just like every entrepreneur, just like you and human nature does. But I had a lot of success in the process. And in 2018, when our brand was really starting to hockey stick with growth, our founder, Bedros, knew that he wanted, a strong leader, someone who he connected with and trusted, which I built that over the years, and someone who had owner perspective to continue to lead. So he offered me his vice president role, which then ultimately, after a few years, even going through COVID, he awarded me the CEO position as his fitness and other empires have grown, and really, want to provide me the opportunity with my passion, my heart and soul to serve and really lead the organization. And it's really to kind of put a bow on this, Tamika. It's a crazy serendipitous experience, thinking myself when I look back, this kid from Middletown, middle of nowhere, Michigan, that used to run out of money before he used to run out of month, that Taco Bell was a staple of his diet, that fitness was not involved whatsoever, literally ascended the ranks, became an owner, also was the janitor, the bookkeeper, their accountant, ran all the way through, and now was awarded the CEO position. So I guess what I'm saying is, if I can do it, you and your audience certainly could do this too. So that's the message I really want to drive home for your audience today.
Specifically about what the audience can expect, or your customers expect when they walk into the door at Fit Body Bootcamp. I know you kind of gave us the quick rundown, but why does this work? I love that you said 30 minutes, right? Like, we all are busier than we probably should be, and we want to get it in, get it done, and as efficiently as possible, which it sounds like we can do at Fit Body Bootcamp. So why does this work so well?
Well, I think number one, culture and relationships in the environment is everything. And typically big box gyms or other types of programs can be very intimidating, especially with big dudes and massive weights. And, for the average person who's not a fitness professional, who's not spending hours, detailing out their meal plan and programming their workouts for the week, which is just not realistic, it can be intimidating at other locations and other program modalities. With Fit Body, it's all about family and culture and warmness. So, people join our program, one, to get results that typically are looking for fat loss. And again, most of our clients are in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. We call our dream client Mrs. Jones, but also have many Mr. Joneses as well. And Mrs. Jones typically has a few kids, is 40, 50 pounds overweight, hasn't worked out since high school, isn't overly confident, actually doesn't love working out, but knows that she needs to. So to be able to find her, self on the, with the opportunity to join a Fit Body Bootcamp when the first experience is going to be very welcoming. We have an orientation that we bring our clients through. It's going to be energy rich, really positive vibes. It's going to be very welcoming in a 30-minute session. And we like to say that's 2% of your day. You can give me 2% of your day and I can give you a better life in exchange for that. And that's our deal with our clientele. And I guess the last point why clients really stay is just our nutrition coaching, because body composition change and getting lean and healthy and feeling better is super important. Not only human movement or movement is really important, but also what you put in. And the famous adage saying that you can't out eat a bad diet is absolutely true. So it's really important to have really good, clean nutrition and coaching and accountability. The reason that clients, they can, feel very welcomed in, they stay with the program, get great results, and they stay, they pay, they refer, and they bring their family and friends, and really just create amazing communities at, over hundreds of locations across North America.
Yeah, and across all of those locations is how you got to the number of 1,000,000 pounds of weight loss. Is that right?
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. Certainly very proud of that. And one of the things that we also do is we run these transformation challenges, and we have a few variations. We just launched a new one called the Ultimate Transformation Program, or UTP. But we also have other transformation programs throughout the course of the year. And combined, with the power of our franchise system, with the powers of hundreds of locations and hundreds of owners and hundreds of amazing clients who we really owe all the credit to, who've tapped into our program, tapped to our fitness transformation, and tapped into our nutrition coaching program. We're very proud to say that we've lost over 1,000,000 pounds over the past decade through our transformation challenges. And the best part, Tamika, is we're just getting started, and we have a lot of work cut out for us, and just, so much more progress on the horizon.
I love a good transformation challenge. I have to tell you, I actually just did one at my gym. It was their first time doing one, but it was a 12-week challenge. And guess who won?
Don't tell me you did.
Listen,
Boom.
you don't want to go head to head with me.
Love it. Love it. Well,
I
congrats.
won. Thank you. Thank you so much.
What was the
Um,
hardest part about it? I'm gonna flip this on you. What was the hardest part about it? Like, walk me through it.
the hardest part about it, I mean, I think it's always the mental piece, like the mindset piece, right? Um, and I had gained through like the pandemic just more weight than I ever did, and I think it was more so getting restarted and feeling like, oh, how did I let this happen? And like you can kind of get into that downward spiral at that point and feel like it's hard to just start, right? Like I think that was my hardest part, because once I'm doing the thing, I'm happy, like I feel good. You're looking better, the energy is better, like all the things, but it's kind of just like that initial starting. And this time around, I felt like it took my body longer to respond. So that is like that mental piece of like not getting frustrated, and just sticking with it. And then it took longer than it has in the past, but I also feel like I did this in it. Like my intention was to do this in like a healthy way, like no quick tricks like I had done in the past in bodybuilding, nothing super restrictive, nothing where I'm trying to work out 2 and 3 hours a day, because as a business owner, honestly, I just don't have the time. I think I was also just getting used to the fact of, hey, my body is responding differently, but I'm also approaching this differently than I had in the past.
Well, good on you. And I appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that story. And I think it's just so important. But I also think it's important to your point, because many of us have start and stops, right? I mean, that's just, human nature, how we're wired. It's important to have some grace with yourself, because I feel like we do a good job of humans of beating ourselves up, and
Mm.
speaking for myself, but I know this from thousands of
Yeah.
clients, and realizing, not everything's perfect. You're not going to be on the perfect journey. You're going to take a step. You might have to take a step back, and you're going to have some false starts, but that's just part of the process. For me, and I think that's why getting an accountability coach is so crucial. And I'll be open with you. This is a personal development type podcast. An incredible change I made in my life almost 6 years ago is when I stopped drinking alcohol. And as it turns out, I'm a recovering alcoholic. And I wasn't one of those alcoholics that used to drink every day or not have my stuff together, or, homeless under a bridge, as an example, drinking every day out of a paper bag. I wasn't at all. But however, what I realized is when I started drinking alcohol, I was more of the binge drinker, if you will. kind of like having sugar, which is also proven to be very addictive. Once you have a little bit of sugar, or for me, when you have a little bit of alcohol, I want to continue. And Tamika, but not only you and your audience, I tried a few times actually to stop drinking without success, but ultimately a very tragic situation happened with a family member, and I realized, I mean, to your point earlier about having the deeper why, it really became very clear to me, unless I make a change, not only is this going to impact me, but I'm going to be a poor role model for my family. So now is the time. I really tapped into that deeper why, but really additionally, I tapped into an accountability program. So I entered a very famous, well-known accountability program where I got a coach and got a mentor. And I think that's so important. That just translates into so many aspects of human nature and so many aspects of human development and growth. So I appreciate you sharing your story, and hopefully that added value to your audience as well. It's okay. Have some patience with yourself, but just get back up, do it again, pick yourself off the mat, hire a coach, get more accountability, and just one foot in front of the other.
So I do want to ask you, since we were on the topic of those stop and starts, a lot of people familiar with the yo-yo dieting, or the gain weight, lose weight. Have you come across that in a lot of your clients? And when you do see that, what is your advice to people to be able to kind of stop that cycle?
Ooh, incredible question. And yes, it is very common. It's so interesting, human nature. We think for whatever reason that we're the only person, especially when we're going through a problem or a crisis or a challenge, that we're the only person that has ever experienced this challenge before. We just go inward. And the reality of the situation is that many of the challenges you experience are extremely common. I'll give you an example. Typically the biggest concern when someone who's about to join our program, they think that our program, Fit Body Bootcamp, is a bunch of fitness models running around, fitness being ready to be on stage and on TV. And that's just not the case at all. The average Fit Body client coming in needs to lose weight, needs to drop body fat, needs to get healthy. So that's just, so important. So, and also too, it's really important to, if you can join a program that has, weekly check-ins and accountability kind of built in, you're going to be, set yourself up for success. So for me, I'll give you an example. Fitness, I wouldn't say it comes naturally to me because it's been a work in progress over the going on nearly 20 years now. But I've gained that muscle that ultimately I have the fortitude, the willpower, the discipline that I'm going to get my workout. I'm going to eat a healthy, lean meal. However, that does not translate to every aspect of my life. So while I'm really dialed in from a fitness perspective, from a mindset perspective, from a leadership perspective, there are things in my life where I need help, I need coaching, I need consistency. And that's just how we're wired as humans. It's also about your input is your output. So what, type of podcast and, friends and different positive influences are you putting in your life? That will definitely keep you motivated, allow you to push through when the going gets tough. Additionally, I always love this from a physics framework. A body in motion stays in motion, and a body in rest stays at rest. So when you get off the bandwagon, okay, when you fall off the water cooler, it's really hard to get back on. And that's why, again, having an accountability coach is so important. But the opposite is also true. In my experience at life, fitness is the gateway drug. When you are healthy, when you're fit, everything else in your life improves. The opposite is also true.
If you had to offer one thing for people to implement in their life, a daily practice, just one thing that would help you, feel like helps you maybe in your own life and would help the general public, maybe this is a tough question, but just show up as your best self each day, what would you say that one thing would be?
Oh, I love this question.
Oh, good.
It's around the physical fitness space, but it's not actually what you're thinking. It's actually to make sure that you get, if not 7, 8 hours of sleep on a daily basis. And there's
Ooh,
just all
you said
sorts.
that. You said that, and I got chills over my body because I got goosebumps because I am not that person. Okay, break it down.
Tamika,
Break it down.
you
No,
have
this
to.
is this is an area I know I need to improve. Okay,
You
tell us
have
why.
to. Well, and I'm not going to be overly scientific, to give you all the science, but there's so many studies out now. And an example, a friend of mine, Sean from the Real Model Health Show, he's huge on sleep and produces a lot of content on this and just shows so many studies that when you're sleep deprived, your mood's off. You don't feel energetic. You feel lethargic. Okay, you tend to studies show that you tend to eat, take the path of least resistance, or pick out a food that's typically salty and not good for you. So it compounds so many aspects of your life, and from a very negative perspective, if you are not properly rested, if you do not get health and enough sleep, I should say. When you are rested, as an example, if you get at least 7, if not 8 hours, okay, you're more alert. You feel better. When you feel better, you're more inclined to take positive action steps that will increase your fitness, your health, your career, whatever the case may be, your family life. And when you feel good, and when you start taking additional steps, then you start building momentum. And again, as I mentioned before, progress equals motivation. So by having enough sleep, it will literally open up so many doors for you. And this is so interesting because many times people ask me, like, Bryce, CEO of an international fitness franchise, how many hours of sleep do you get? 3 or 4 a night? And I'm like, absolutely not. I run my body hard. I work out daily. I literally push myself to the max, but I'm very, very, very religious and very guarded about my sleep. At the very minimum, 7, if not 8 hours a day. I feel better. I'm able to perform at a high level. And really, the whole point of this podcast is to grow yourself personally and professionally. In order to do that, you need your body, your vessel, the only vehicle that you have that will take you from when you're born throughout your whole life. You need it functioning on all cylinders, if you will. And it starts with good sleep. And that will actually set your day up, your month up, your year up, your life up for success.
Yeah, I love that. Are there, you said, and I'm so glad you brought up the point about, hey, you're a busy CEO. Are you getting 3, 4 hours of sleep? Absolutely not. You are very disciplined about that. Are there certain things that you are doing to ensure that you're able to get those 7 to 8 hours of sleep each night?
I have an alarm, a bed alarm, a sleep alarm, not just a wake up alarm. So that is a trigger for me because human nature, okay, like Pavlov's dogs. Many of your audience is familiar with the study on Pavlov dogs, which was done 100 years ago or so. And Pavlov, I believe, was a Russian scientist, basically blew a whistle, and then every time he blew a whistle, would give the dog a food. Well, eventually, after a period of time, blew the and what actually let me take that back. Once he blew the whistle, the dog was presented with food, the dog would start to salivate, okay, because food was there. Well, eventually what happened is the Pavlov would blow the whistle, not actually present the food, but the dog would still salivate. So ultimately, that's just a conditioning of animal species. We're animals. That's the reality of the situation. So by having a go to sleep alarm, if you will, it basically triggers to me. Okay, now it's time to basically start unwinding. The other thing is, and I just started this habit about 18 months ago, CBD oil. I rub some on my temples. Really game changing. And I'm going to humble myself and be super vulnerable. My wife gives me such a hard time, but I have my princess mask where I basically have my eye blocker, and that actually just shuts out the light and gets me into like a really good space. So those are a few things, in addition just to eating well and feeling better and working out hard, because when I work out hard, then throughout the end of the day, then I'm just naturally tired. So those are a few tricks that really serve me well, and I cannot express the importance enough. If you don't get sleep, you're not going to function well, and you're going to be not living the life that you're destined to.
Absolutely. This is great. I I mean, your tips are on point. Good reminders to me. Give yourself grace. Get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. Is there anything else that you want to add that I didn't ask you?
um Surround yourself with awesome people, and I'm just fired up to be on this podcast with you, Tamika.
Oh,
Your energy's awesome, and I think that's just
likewise.
a thank you. I think it's just a testament. When you're around good people,
Yeah.
you start to attract good things in your life. When you
Yeah.
put in good inputs, when you watch very positive, uplifting podcasts or shows, and you have positive friends, and you have a weekly dedication or devotion, just things typically just work out better. So I think just in general terms, I'm a huge fan of protecting my energy, protecting my physical and also mental energy. And I learned this from the founder of Fit Body Bootcamp, and use this analogy about vampires. And that people can sometimes have vampires in their life that literally just suck the living heck out of you. And we have no time for that. You really should only be around people that will give you candor, that will give you positive or feedback that's real. Okay, that's not going to sugarcoat all the things the time,
Right.
because that's important, but also are going to lift you up, be positive, energetic. And I'll leave it at this: the famous saying, "A rising tide raises all ships." that is so true. And that's been a reason for, any success I've achieved in my life. It's about surrounding myself with the right people. And that's really what I want for your audience today.
Absolutely. And Bryce Henson said it, lift you up. No, I mean that's absolutely so true. And I think that's something you start to even realize, at least I know I have as a business owner, and going through that process and understanding, hey, there's the ups and downs that come with that, and realizing the importance of that mindset and the mindset of the people around you, right? So keeping in that positive mindset in all areas of what you're doing. Yeah.
And to interject, sorry, I think
Yeah.
it's so important too, to kind of like color in or connect the dots, especially as you become a better person, as you learn more, as you grow more, as you develop yourself more. What's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of people that are going to be on that journey with you, but you're also going to have a lot of people from your past that are not on the journey with you. And does that mean they're bad people? No, they probably mean well. Am I saying that you need to cut every single person like that out of your life completely? No. However, I am saying that you do need to edit your relationships, especially as you develop yourself and grow. Because if someone is not going to develop themselves and really be attached and devoted to personal growth, eventually what's going to happen, maybe you don't notice in 6 months, maybe you don't notice in a year, but after you get 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you look back, and it's kind of like, when you go back to Jersey, I'm sure when I go back to Michigan, when I see some family and friends, sometimes the level of growth hasn't really caught up. And that's okay. They're not bad people, but now I'm going to edit my relationship a bit. I'm going to still give them what I can, but I'm really focus more of my attention on the people that are really going to serve me and help lift me up, and I'm going to do the same for them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're all on our own journeys, and sometimes, we're at the same places at the same time, and sometimes we are not, and that's okay. The universe has a way of naturally knocking those people off your path and keeping the ones that should be around you. So
Totally.
So tell everyone how they can learn more about you, connect with you, learn more about Fit Body Bootcamp.
Oh, well, thank you, Tamika. First and foremost, would love you and your audience to check out a Fit Body Bootcamp. So you can go to our main website, fitbodybootcamp.com. And if you're interested in fitness and fat loss and mindset coaching, go ahead and put in your information in. Your local location will basically reach out and get you on a trial program or a challenge and really help change your life. And if you're an entrepreneur interested to potentially being a franchise partner, that would be another great website to go to as well. So fitbodybootcamp.com. And I would love to continue to stay in touch with you and your audience. You can find me on all my social, whether it's Facebook or Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, at Real Bryce Henson, not to be confused with fake Bryce Henson. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. And we'll make sure to link to all that below in the show notes. This has been absolutely fantastic. I love your energy, and that's because I know you're getting that 7-8 hours of sleep, exercising, and eating clean every day.
That's it. Well, feeling is mutual. This has been fantastic. So
thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that high energy interview with Bryce Henson, who truly practices what he preaches. Those are my favorite interviewees to speak with right here on this show. So I hope you took away some good nuggets and things that you need to incorporate in your own life, just to take little steps, one step at a time in your own life, to live happier and healthier. And I know I'm going to be working on trying to get a little more hours of sleep each night. So make sure you go below to learn more about Fit Body Bootcamp below, connect with Bryce Henson, the social, the website, all the things are going to be down below for you to learn and connect with them. And hey, I say it every week. If you haven't connected with me as well, make sure you do so. I'm all the places you can find me: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'd especially love it though if you connect with me on LinkedIn, and also hit subscribe on YouTube and turn on those notifications, because you know what? We come back with new episodes just like this one every other week, and I'd hate for you to miss out. So until we see you back in 2 weeks, stay happy, stay healthy.